Our first piece of business is the Pledge of Allegiance with our students tonight. Who's good, this will be your last time. You want to lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys are tardy.
You now have to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Please come forward.
Committee updates.
I'm going to kneel.
Committee updates. We did have a budget subcommittee. Oops, citizens' comments, I meant to say. Any citizens' comments? Yes, if you could just state your name for the record, please.
John Rice. I'd like to address item 6, I believe is F. I just want to speak on being chairman of the school building committee. I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Birch on several programs, whether it's the oil spill that we had, the current tanks that would have to come out, and alternative energy. We've had several contractors coming in, asking various questions about the projects we're doing, and it's unbelievable to me, the size of this facility. He has all the answers. I don't know where he gets it, but he does. We had a question about when one section of the roof was available, and when it was built, he just spit out the number. We had a question about the oil tanks that the state thought we were in violation of. He did his research. Bingo, we did get a reprieve from that till the end of the year. So my comment here is that I don't know what steps are, but I don't want to take a step going backwards. I prefer to have 2 steps forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had written down that I want to talk about that pickup policy. So, what do we do? The only spot I could.
Let's save citizens' comments at the end, all right? Only because I think it's going to be a long meeting.
I agree.
Maybe we need to save it for next time.
That's fine. I just want to try to hit it before the next
Okay,
year.
yeah.
I think we ought to add to the agenda board comments.
We've talked about
We
that.
can, but you're citizens, so you can
At the
also.
end. Yeah,
Well,
we're not
we are
citizens, we're
citizens.
talking as a board.
Alright.
You can always speak as a citizen, but we can put that back in.
Yeah.
It was taken out for a reason, but I don't think the
Okay.
reason's here anymore.
Subtle.
Just saying.
Okay. Any other citizens' comments?
No.
Okay. Committee updates. We did have a finance subcommittee meeting. Would you like to report on that?
We discussed adjustments to the year-end fiscal 17-18, and we are lucky to have an interim business manager, Frank, I don't remember. Conley. And he's got it all over that thing, I know. There are no conclusive year-end numbers yet because he's still working on adjusting them. And so I'm unable to give you any concrete year-end number. We are going to be in the black, I can tell you that. But as to giving a final number, that won't happen. We'll need to go through the audit first, and so, but anyway, I can tell you that as of this moment, we are in the black, and that's it. We're doing well.
There was no action to be taken from that meeting.
No.
Does anybody have questions for Kathleen? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on. Educational update, our student spotlight. Ladies?
Each month, Turtle Rock Memorial High School Student Spotlight Program recognizes a student who has demonstrated outstanding achievement, character, leadership, attitude, and/or contributions to the school and community. May's Student Spotlight honoree is Senior Nicholas Elliott, who could not be here tonight. In Nick's nomination, Joseph Boguslawski, the nominator, states, Nick is probably the friendliest kid in school. He puts a smile on everyone's face and there's never a dull moment with Nick. Even if you are having an awful day, as soon as you talk to Nick, your day gets so much better. Joe also noted, Nick also tries his hardest in the classroom and puts in so much effort. If anyone deserves this award, it's Nick. Regarding his motivation, Nick states, my motivation comes from the satisfaction of others. Not only a job well done, I enjoy making others happy. My motivation comes from the idea to never disappoint another. Nick also actively participates in Relay for Life each spring. Although Nick does not consider himself a large part of the community, he is always happy to help with anything regardless of his own plans. Of his plans for the future, Nick states, my future plans involve getting a 4-year business degree at Nichols College, while also taking a real estate courses on the side. I would like to travel and become an entrepreneur in entertainment. Recently, Nick was awarded a $60,000 Faculty Achievement Scholarship Award to Nichols College. His junior and senior year, bringing up his grades was his biggest goal, and because of his determination, it has brought him nothing but success. Nick's personal message to the school and community is, Thompson is a small community. I believe that seniors should be breaking down social classes to be kind to everyone, not just their friends. It is easy to judge a person's character by the way they treat fellow students.
Wow, very nice.
Okay, so I guess we're just doing the regular update first. I guess I have a surprise at the end. So tomorrow on June 12th at high noon, because I was not allowed to say that on the announcements today, senior walk is happening. We had to announce what we were doing to the elementary school because we were like mapping out the route with the balance out, and I wanted to announce that at high noon we were coming through the elementary school. But like, nah, you probably wouldn't know like what that means. I was like, I think I want to say it. But I did, so I saved it for you guys. After our walk at high noon, we are going to the end of the year assembly. We're just kind of putting together our highlights and what we've done throughout the entire year, which is always really fun. Senior exams start Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and tentatively I am taking none of them, so that's really fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
You got nothing to prove at this point anyway, right?
That's right.
I mean, you know, it's always great. I hate exams so much, so. Yeah. Graduation rehearsals are kicking off with the class of 2018 pizza lunch on Friday and breakfast Monday morning, which is always fun. We also had a bit of a pancake mishap this morning, and that's what set off the fire alarm if you're wondering. So yeah.
That was not typed on her list, just saying.
Yeah, that happened. So underclassmen exams start on Monday, June 18th. So I guess good luck with that. Yeah, and the same day graduation is happening at Monday at 6 on the field, hopefully. No rain. Yeah, be there because it'll probably be fun. So yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today.
I think they announced the valedictorian and salutatorian, so for the board members that weren't there, could you tell us who those were?
Yes, I could. The salutatorian was Sydney Ratliff, and I am the valedictorian this year. Alright, that's all I got for the update. We have more. Do you want to start? I've been talking
Yeah,
long enough.
I can do it.
Okay.
So we both have 2 thank you cards. They're from different people. This one is from Mr. Dupre's history students thanking Joe Lindley for his lesson on Henry Brown. He wanted me to share it with you guys. All the students just wrote like thank you notes. So,
this one is from Christine Gauman. I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for allowing TMHS students to participate in the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. It really meant a lot to me to have the opportunity to offer this program to the Thompson community. And that simply wouldn't have been possible without your wonderful students. And this is addressed to Megan Baker, I'm assuming, because that's the only Megan that's here right now. So.
and I'd like to extend that gratitude to the wonderful work that Mrs. Duprey does with her students and her community outreach.
That is all I have for you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for our students? Before you go, we have some tokens of appreciation. First, Emily. This is just a little certificate. Let's see if I'll come around that way. Daddy, take a picture. Got it? All right. been a lot of fun the last 2 years with you.
Jordan, where are you going again?
UConn.
Okay. Fun with that.
Okay.
I will.
Get lost.
I'm the only person on my cross country team that got lost during a race, so.
Well, good luck.
I encourage you download the right app to her phone.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, you gotta ask the question. How'd
Yeah.
you get lost? Yeah. You gotta help me out.
Okay.
Hopefully you were in first place and you were like blazing a trail.
No, I was third actually though. So that's kind of a funny story. But yeah, the whole story is kind of funny if you want to hear it. But it was mainly in the woods, and I have to say, like, I'm terrible with directions, but this trail was like really badly marked. And also, I don't run with my glasses on, and I've been told I am legally blind in one eye.
Alright, wait, you're running through the woods. You ever hit trees?
Yes.
Trees.
Yes. Yeah, without my
Oh,
glasses on, because they bounce around and it's like sweaty. So I'm like, I'm gonna go in blind. I have one working eye. It's fine. So like, yeah, I was running, and usually they've got like spray paint or ribbons and stuff to tell you where to go. And this trail had like that maybe in some places, but I like couldn't see it. So I like completely missed a turn or something. Like I went straight when I should have, like, I don't know. Something happened. So I'm just kind of like, the trail kind of just ends and there's like this swamp in front of me. I'm like, okay. Clearly I wasn't supposed to go this way. So I turn around. I'm like about to start crying because I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get out. And I see this girl running and I'm like, where do I go? And she tells me and I kind of like sprint ahead of her and like the finish line was super close and it was fine, but it was really scary.
It's been a great 2 years.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, she's our valedictorian.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, tell that story at graduation.
Oh, you need to.
Maybe the middle part of my speech is missing right now, so
Sense
I
of
probably
direction has no correlation to intelligence.
I hope not. 'Cause
That's for a pilot.
I can
Okay.
attest to that.
Let's move on to our superintendent's update.
So this evening, we are honored to have 3 of our 4 retirees here this evening. And we wanted to recognize them for the wonderful service that they have given to the students of Thompson. And so first, I would like to mention Donna Weaver. Donna is an amazing reading teacher at Mary R. Fisher Elementary School, and I've had the good pleasure of just working with her for such a short time. However, I know that she's touched the lives of many children and have opened the world of reading to them, and so we want to say thank you to you, Donna. And secondly, Valerie Krogel. Valerie has been here for many, many years helping our children who have had speech and language disabilities, and she has worked tirelessly in every single school and even at St. Joe's, running every which way to service our students who need that support. And we want to thank Valerie for all of her years of service to the children of Thompson.
You come up a little bit, Val. Just a little.
And last but not least, Beverly Houle. Beverly is our payroll manager, and we all love Beverly because she makes sure we get paid every 2 weeks. But she has been truly amazing to work with in the short time I've worked with her, but I know many of you have been interacting with Beverly for many years. We are going to miss her desperately, and we thank you, Beverly, for everything you have done for all of the faculty and staff of Thompson Public Schools. Thank you. And Janice Haney isn't here this evening, but Janice was a guidance counselor. Her last assignment was at Mary R. Fisher Elementary School. However, she spent many years as a high school guidance counselor, and we also wish her well in her retirement. So, thank you, everyone. holding steady. We have 1,003 students. However, we've had a couple of students withdraw from the high school for various reasons, and then we picked up a student at Mary R. Fisher, and at our middle school, it's their siblings, so it was one family that moved in. So we're holding strong at 1,003. Just to recap, we started the year at 1,013, and we fluctuated up and down over the year, and have settled out on 1,003 students for the FY 17-18 school year.
And as of now, we're still looking at a pretty good projection, 8th graders coming into our high school.
We do, and I can look at Mr. Scott and Principal Baker, and that is a true statement, correct? Yes.
Good.
Including some from other schools who are coming back. Not in the freshman class, but maybe even freshmen who are at other schools who are actually making their way back here, even as sophomores now.
Oh, really?
Oh, good.
Excellent.
Just
Good.
one thing before you go on. It looks like we have a little bit of a bubble here that we need to really capitalize on, which is obviously 96 students this year coming from 8.
We have
90, and then we have 74. I mean, we have a good little nucleus here to capitalize and get to them earlier.
And we are working on that, and I know that Principal Baker and her team are gonna be on it. We've been invited to St. Joe's in October to
Yep.
go down and start our recruitment, but we know that we need to get out a little earlier this year, correct?
We're looking at possibly holding an open house again this summer, August 13th, so that our students, whichever grade, may they be incoming freshmen or out of district students that would like to just kind of wander through the halls of Turlock, and certainly making sure that we're continuing the promotion efforts. I know that our leadership team just went down to the 8th grade, and they broke it into smaller groups, answering their specific questions that had been surveyed earlier in January of this year. So it was students talking with students, and it was very successful. They were incredibly charged when they came
Good.
back.
That's good.
Megan, you probably don't have the answer, but I noticed the middle college is going up. It went from 9 to 15. I don't know what our enrollment slots were, but I think when that was first established, each of the schools agreed upon a certain amount of slots, and it seems like they're creeping up.
We exceeded those numbers, and I know that there's 2 students since I've been here where we were seeking an alternate placement for those students that were with specialized programming. And so 2 of the students I know this year were trying to match a program to the student. So I know that I'm responsible, or I interacted with 2 of those students that went there. So that might be why the number is up.
Yeah, that's a 60. I don't know what our original slots were, but 9 to
thought it
15, that's a
was
60%.
When it first started, I think it was 4.
4?
Way back when.
Okay,
But
I'll look
it's
at
gone,
it.
it's gone up since, I know. And sometimes that's the best placement for a student.
Sometimes.
I'll look.
Melinda, are we able to access WINI, like some of the other schools are starting to promote their schools now? Woodstock Academy and Putnam was with some of the programs that they have to offer and stuff, could we do that?
So I know Putnam had a grant that paid for the airtime on WINY. And so we're trying to take advantage of some spots that we had on Tiger Talk. Principal Baker did that this year. We can certainly think about it as part of our communications subcommittee meeting and have that conversation. Do we want to put dollars there? But I was hoping that we could find some way to get some sponsors to sponsor an ad for us. I need to get what that's going to cost us, and then, try to find a sponsor.
The athletic department has been very generous in letting us kind of point in on some times that they may not have athletes to highlight. But we do have to be careful because it is specifically.
Have you heard this specific ads for Putnam and
I
Woodstock?
did.
Because they're very well done.
Yes, I have.
I'm actually gonna be getting some airtime with Gary O for the Alumni Association, so maybe we can kind of dovetail that into. And that's usually a 10-minute segment, so I'll let you know the dates on that. I know it's coming up. I think 2 or 3 segments between now and October.
Excellent, yes.
All right.
Is there any chance of whatever grant Putnam? Because I don't understand.
It was leftover money, from what I understand, Superintendent Hull had some funding specifically for PR of one of the programs he was trying to promote, and so he was able to use that.
That's what I was gonna say, it would have to be pretty specific.
But you
money.
never know, there might be someone who'd like to sponsor a
absolutely.
spot, so.
Absolutely. I
Maybe
don't know,
we
band
can-
book or, you know,
Why are you
tracks.
looking at me? That's Emily's college fund.
Rock on.
Rock on.
Sure, we can.
So, food service presentation. So, this evening, I want to bring to everyone's attention, we all know that we started the school year with some news that our cafe account was running a bit in deficit. And so, we've been working hard with, Lisa Durand and Christine Murphy to make sure that we're really paying attention to our expenses and really paying attention to our reimbursable meals. But you remember that when I first came before the board in August, I asked permission to add universal breakfast to our elementary school, and then grab-and-go breakfast at the middle and high. Universal meaning that every child at Mary R. Fisher Elementary School receives a free breakfast. So I'm gonna ask Lisa and Christine to give us an overview of the cafeteria program, which includes breakfast and lunch. And then we want to talk a little bit about expanding universal to the middle and high school and some other things we're thinking about. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa and Christine.
Okay. We had a pretty good month last month. We've all been working very, very hard. All of my staff is just incredible. I'd say we got a really good reimbursement from the state, mostly in part because of our increased breakfast participation. If you look at the chart I made for you, our elementary breakfast participation has more than doubled, and we're not even done with the school year yet. And the same almost with our middle school. We did about 59,047 total last year for middle school. This year we're already up to 10,788. High school still needs a little work. That's going to be our goal next year, to work on high school. But kids really seem to be excited about it. They like the way it's happening. We tried a few different ways of getting it to them. We started out delivering it to all the classrooms, which proved to be very physical for my staff. They were lifting heavy bags, delivering them early in the morning, very time consuming. So we worked with NOV and decided that we would still deliver to kindergarten, pre-K, and Mr. DiFormato's special class. And the rest of the elementary come to the kitchen to get their meals, so there's a lot more hot options for them, and they are doing awesome. They love it.
Lisa, can you talk about the enhanced breakfast menu? Because I know you spend a lot of time researching smoothie recipes and breakfast sandwiches.
We'll
Can you
do
talk
more
about that?
smoothies for breakfast next year. We started at the beginning of the year, and then it got cold, and they didn't seem to be such big sellers, but we started doing fresh baked muffins, and the kids love them. Egg sandwiches. We try to switch it up with the kids, give them different choices. I'm trying to do more scratch cooking, as much as we can.
And you know, the quality of food is obvious, the kids are obviously eating it, so I'm really happy about that.
So by our meal counts going up, we'll get more money next year from the state towards food, which helps a lot.
Yeah, and we just missed by a fraction of a point, the opportunity for us to be able to offer our elementary students free lunch universally. You have to have a certain 40% threshold in direct certifications, and unfortunately, we missed it by a fraction of a point. So we're in this like pending zone, but we won't be able to access the program again now until a year from now. So we're disappointed about that because we thought that it would be ideal to be able to offer every elementary student a free lunch. We could still do so, but we would have to assume the cost of that. And I don't know if our account is healthy enough at this point to do that right yet. But we do want to ask about the free universal breakfast for middle and high school, because we feel that students really need to eat at the beginning of the day, and any of the principals that are out there, they can chime in. But it helps our students remain focused. There's less trips to the nurse, And we've just seen an overall improvement, and Nob, I know, speaks about that a lot.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, you gotta start somewhere, and then with Lisa's help, and she's so calm and cool about the whole thing, it's like, okay, we'll work at it this way, we'll tweak it that way, you know, and see what works the best, and just seeing the amount of kids that have increased, and seeing it consistent, you know, they've got it down pat, they go, it's not a lot of time, they get right into the class, they're eating and going right into their morning student centers. It's very seamless kind of a morning transition. The announcements come over and the day begins. It's I don't know, it's comforting to know that they're all starting with a full stomach of food, that no one's going without. And you know, and you put on the other end, you know, the Weekend Warrior program that started and helping families on the weekend. So a lot more food assistance all around. It's good.
And it's making money.
And it's
going back
making
to the
money.
program.
And that's the good thing, it's more than paying for itself, so, we will ask your approval to add the middle and the high school to universal. The other thing we wanna talk a little bit about is that when parents, load funds into their My School Bucks account, there is a fee associated with that the district has been absorbing all these years, and it's over $5,000 annually. Many other school districts charge a transaction fee, and so what was that fee that you recommended?
$1.35.
$1.35 per transaction. That will offset that $5,000 that has been coming out of the lunch account.
The last 3 years, we paid over $14,000 out of our program for these transaction fees.
So the only one making the money is My School Bucks.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's something that we would like to request, putting that transaction fee on the family side. It may encourage them to put more in their account when each time they fund some money. Yeah.
And that's one of our action items, that's,
Right.
we can take care of that.
Okay, and then the other thing is, did you wanna give an update on undue, lunch balances? You can remember at the beginning of the year, we were around 6,600 for folks that hadn't paid their lunch bill.
As of right now, $3,446.10, that's where we're at.
And that's the lowest it's been since I've been here, and the lowest it's been for quite some time, correct?
Right.
So this is a combined effort. This is Lisa, Chris, Danielle, and myself, all working together to reach out to families and encourage them to pay their lunch bill. We still do have some, unpaid lunch accounts, and you know that Connecticut law at the end of the June, we can't roll those balances over. So it's something that the BOE every year absorbs, but it's at the lowest it's ever been, and I can't thank everybody around this table enough for helping Lisa go after those unpaid accounts.
Because we're getting more responses from parents.
Still?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah. I'm doing a lot more letters, emailing the letters home more frequently. Chris makes phone calls. Principals are helping out as well. So,
we send letters,
yeah.
and then Danielle tells me which ones I should call. So it's kind of a long circle.
That we're all involved.
All involved.
Yeah.
We need to accrue for some of those uncollected funds also. Is that another line item?
We could,
I mean, just
we could,
have it out there.
yeah. I mean, it's, yeah, we can do that.
We have some from last year that I've collected, that I've been gathering. Not an exorbitant amount, but there's probably a few $100s that will go back to the board.
Okay.
I know when we talk about this, we usually bring it up, so we'll rehash it again, but since it's low, that's good, but are we finding again that it's people that don't qualify for
Yes,
free and reduced?
yes.
Because we can help, we know we can give them all the paperwork, and is it repetitive year in and year out? It's the same people? I mean, are we tracking that?
Yes, we are tracking
Families that have been the kids in school since I've been here, or every year, and they don't qualify, for whatever reason, I call them, offer assistance, and I've gotten more recently that have asked for help,
Okay.
which is good. And I think it's because of all of us getting involved.
Okay.
I have another question. I noticed that there's a big jump from February to March and then April to May. Is that, I mean, it's like a difference, some months 300.
For what? What are we looking at?
Looking at the number of meals.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Oh,
snow
wait a minute.
days, small
Yeah,
ones.
vacations,
Yes. Yeah.
that's generally our vacation
Right,
months.
yeah.
You're right. Well done, Jody. My auditing firm over here, Jody Houghton, well done.
Okay.
Good.
Anything else you'd like to add, Lisa?
I did the paid lunch equity tool. The elementary lunch actually has to go up 5 cents. What they do is they total the meals for the whole month of the prior October, and you multiply it by the price they paid this year, and they let you know. It's a calculated tool that I gave you a copy of. And they were at $2.85, and they need to go up 5 cents.
You can add that on the,
Middle and higher
Do it next month.
are all set.
They don't have that as an action item.
It's not here, so we could add it as an action item tonight, or we could just do it next month.
Why is it it's only the elementary school,
Yeah.
all the other ones are in line?
Last year, we did middle school in the state, I spoke with my contact at the state, she said you should just go up on middle school because you'll have to go up on the next year anyway. So rather than go up next year a little bit and then a little bit this year. So they're right on target for where they need to be, middle and high.
You wanna add, Bill, do you wanna entertain a motion to add that to the action items? Or you wanna put it in the free
Let's-
breakfast?
We can just do it next month. It's, it doesn't matter.
When did the notification
It's not gonna
go
go.
out though?
August, we usually send it out in the newsletter.
All right, so we'll have time if we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, early August, we'll gather everything together and get it all out there. Would Chris like to share anything?
It's been good. It's been very good. I've worked all 3 schools now. I've worked all 3 breakfasts. The kids love it. The kids love that they can come in, they always have something to eat. They love the choices. We've made sure that they have hot and cold, because I will tell you that, yes, a lot of times the hot is coming from us. They're not eating hot all the time. And we're very, very cautious of that. We really, really strive to make sure that they get what they want. I've taken the days that it was high, I've made sure that they get what they want. I've actually asked the kids, do you like pancakes, do you like French toast? I try to alternate it. I try to make sure they have eggs. A lot of them, believe it or not, they don't even know what cooked eggs are.
We just came across a bunch of new, instead of muffins, we're going to do sheets of all these great different kinds of muffin bars. And they'll be quicker, and we'll have a bigger variety, and I think the kids will like it. We also got from our grant, we just purchased a little over $900 worth of gym equipment for all 3 schools. They just got within the past few weeks.
Oh.
And we had our
As part of our
Patriots
Fuel Up to
play.
Play grant.
Yeah, you had
Yeah.
a Patriots player, I saw that. Looked pretty nice.
The Patriots player came
Yeah,
in,
that was
nice person too, yeah, he was great.
How was that arranged?
That was arranged with Mr. Scott,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Thank
yeah, it was fun.
I'll report on that when I report out.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Lisa?
Yeah, real quick, I don't have Jody's accounting firm over here, auditing firm. School lunch program, what happened with the middle school this year? I'm looking, we've got 600 different in the elementary, and about 1,000 different in the high school, and 6,000 less meals at the middle school
For lunch?
for lunch,
Oh,
unless I'm misreading something. The other two are pretty consistent as far as numbers last year to this year. But 6,000 less lunches in middle school?
well, we haven't completed the month of June, but I don't know what's
That's odd.
happened.
I mean-
We just need to promote it more and,
That just seems, I mean, 4 years worth of kids, it's not like it's a whole new group of kids to drop 6,000 lunches.
Unless they're bringing their own.
All right, just
All
jumped
right,
out.
any other questions? We good? Okay. Before we do our next one, I was just gonna say, our students, Jordan, you guys wanna go? You're
Jordan
welcome.
has to stay till the end of her last meeting, no matter how long we drag it out.
Well, I'll have you know,
She has no
my is
exams.
currently in the works.
Yeah, it's not like you
We'll
have
see you
exams or
next
anything.
Monday, Jordan.
Yes, I don't mean to hold that over your head,
Make your
but-
speech short and sweet.
Yeah, it's like 3.5 minutes right now.
Oh,
All
well.
right.
So we'll see. I tend to get a little worried, but I've been capped at 5 minutes, so.
Come back
Okay.
and be
All right.
our speaker. from the-
All right, so next,
Is our
That's
professional
her next.
development plan. And we are off to the races with putting our plan in place for PD. And Ian Poland is going, our curriculum director is going to talk about our plan.
By the way, I just asked Jordan if she would be our alumni speaker, after this year.
After this,
So, I haven't even heard her speech or seen her speech yet, but
sure it'll be interesting.
But if it's anything like what she presents here, I'm sure it will be fabulous. I did a couple of these. What I've just given you is a copy of the general plan for professional development for the 2018-19 school year. You can see what's listed on the left are some of our focus areas for the year, what we're going to be doing, and what we hope will come out of that under the outcome, and which grades are being affected for each of those things. So not everything goes for every school or every grade, but you can kind of get a flavor of what kinds of things we'll be doing throughout the year. One of our emphases for this year is also looking at professional development time, not just on those designated days in the calendar, but also how we use faculty time, pull-out times where we get substitute coverage, coaching from other, from EastCon, other places to work with our teachers. The different models in which we provide that professional development. It isn't always, this is what we're doing on this half day, and that's the only time we do professional development. So I've listed some of those examples for you. And then just to give you an idea of what some of those dates look like for this coming year, obviously we have a lot of time over the summer where we will be calling people in and working with groups both this summer and next. And then those early release days, which are already on your calendar, but just to kind of see them again here, and then what the 3 full days of professional development are. So these are the kind of the plan for what we're looking at for this year. I was asked to be brief, so there you go.
That was nice and brief, thank you.
Very good.
Any questions, Ryan?
Do we have any certifications coming up this year, recertifications for NEASC or NIAC? Or?
We have a 5-year report for that will be due, I think, in March for NEASC for the high school certification, and NIAC accreditation is this year. Sometime, I think it's October is when they're going to come, and sometime between.
Anytime between now and after June 1st. 5 years. And November.
Yeah, between June 1st and November, they're going to come at some point. So we don't know when they're going to come, so that's kind of always on the radar until they come, and then we're good for a while.
And I'd also like to plant a seed regarding NEASC. They are no longer a 10-year cycle. So it's a matter of us losing 2 years after this 5-year report. So we're going to be looking at our visit again quite quickly after we submit this March.
Are we doing the, where they had the, what do you call it, the round tables with, was it NIAC? What's the one we did 5 years ago?
That would have been NEASC, I believe.
That was up at the high school.
Up at the high school.
We do, is that same
No.
process again?
That'll be in like 2 or 3 years, I believe.
Okay.
Is when they come
So
back for
we're
that.
just reporting on the recommendations and accommodations that were reported out in our 2-year.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it used to be every 10 years, now it's every 8. So we're at year 5 since our last one.
Yeah.
So we'll have another 3 years after that before they come back and.
Now we have to do the whole thing all over
So
again.
they've actually tried to reorganize all of the different subcommittees because they found a lot of redundancy, and they're also trying to reduce the amount of cost that a district goes through with the number of people that come in and the number of days that are needed. So I don't have a full understanding of the whole thing because as we submit for the 5-year, I have to stay in the mindset of the old format.
Right.
But then I've made connections already with Scott Leslie from RAM, who was on the committee that wrote the new process, to be able to start picking his brain as soon as March is done, so I can load in. So.
Good.
This is a lot of hard work and a lot of organization, Ian, and I thank you for pulling this all together.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
There's some here if anybody wants a copy.
Before we move on, Lisa, Christine, thank you. Don't feel like you have to stay if you wanna.
You got breakfast to cook.
Get your French toast ready.
The action items.
Oh,
Need us
okay.
for
No,
that?
no, but I wasn't throwing you out. I just.
No, that's okay.
Don't
No.
feel like you have to.
Considering you've been through all 3 schools for breakfast, which one's better? Just
Well,
one.
same.
Great answer.
Okay. We have, next on our, update is our certified staff rescissions.
Yeah, so, you know, I have good news. Since the budget passed in a very timely manner, and we thank the citizens of Thompson for that, we are able to recall our certified staff back to work, and we don't have to have them lingering over the summer. We are recalling all of our teachers except for one. If you recall, at with all of the staff shifting that we were gonna do with certified staff, there was going to be one teacher that would be permanently laid off. However, about a month or two ago, we did have a teacher resign, and so therefore leaving an open spot. It just so happens that the teacher who is going to be, was going to be permanently laid off also holds that other certification. We just have to, and so we're holding him back. He's the only one that we're not recalling at this time, because we have to offer that position to the rest of the union body. Once that position becomes available, and that I'll recall that particular teacher back into that role. And then we are still juggling around with our alliance funds and how we're going to use our staffing. Not that we want to have any kind of funding cliff, 4 years down the road, but if we can use some of that funds to help us navigate through as we increase enrollment in one area and decrease in another, or put additional supports in the system, we're gonna do that as well. But he will more than likely be on your July rescission call, but everyone else is being recalled.
Good. Okay. Next is, we're gonna have a quick presentation from H.D. Seeger.
Correct. So remember last month, we had our healthcare consultants come before you because we received a price that was lower in our healthcare insurance, and the board approved us making the switch from Connecticut to Cigna, and we had some considerable savings. We also had Dan Anderson in, who is our consultant for workman's comp and liability, and we took a look at those numbers as well. And he recommended to both the town and the Board of Ed to take a look at another provider to save us another amount of money. And remember that we were already cutting our budget $70,000, so these dollars are really important to us. So I'm gonna turn it over to Dan Anderson, and he's gonna talk a little bit briefly about our workman's comp and liability policy.
Is briefly emphasized there.
Thank you.
There you go. So my name is Dan Anderson. I'm from H.D. Seeger Insurance. I've represented the town of Thompson and the Thompson Board of Ed for the last 15 years. Up until last year, the town and the Board of Ed had maintained separate liability and workers' comp policies. And the reason that it was combined last year is the town was suffering from some claims that were going to affect their renewal rates. So the provider for both the town and the Board of Ed was KERMA, which is a Connecticut-only risk pool. And KERMA came to the town and said, you're gonna get a 50% increase on your renewal. And one of the strategies that we had was, if we combined the town with the Board of Ed, that 50% would really in actuality turn into a 9 or 10% increase. Now, last year, the Board of Ed was going to be looking at a flat renewal. So on that renewal last year, the Board of Ed maintained a flat renewal. The town absorbed the vast majority of that increase, and they tasked us to say, going forward, if there's any claims or something changes, it's up to H.D. Seeger to determine how the allocation will go forward. Now, we sort of gave the caveat that we're not gonna change things based on losses because it takes so much time to develop, but if there's a big exposure change, certainly we can have that conversation. And ergo, we go into this renewal, the Board of Ed is getting rid of buses. My talks with the prior business manager said, what do the buses cost us from an insurance standpoint on an annual basis? And we sort of came up with somewhere in the $70,000 to $90,000 a year range is what we can attribute to the bus exposure. Now, Kerma, your current carrier, came and said, well, the losses were so bad, we're going to keep your renewal flat. We're not coming down at all. And so certainly this would present a difficult conversation between the Board of Ed and the town to say, the Board of Ed claims have been good, expecting a $90,000 decrease in their premium, and the town saying, well, we're all in this together, we think the allocation should stay the same. So, fast forward to the end of May, we met with Kerma, and Kerma came in and presented a renewal that offered about a $30,000 reduction in their renewal. So if you look at the sheet, column 1 is expiring premiums, column 2 is Kerma's renewal. That $30,000 decrease, certainly because you got rid of the buses, our recommendation would say all of that would go to the Board of Ed, but now the Board of Ed is in a situation where we say, well, they're expecting another $50,000 decrease in their premium. How are we going to handle this moving forward? Rather than have that difficult conversation, I was tasked by the Board of Ed in the town to seek alternatives. So we got a great quote from Trident Insurance. Trident is the second largest writer of municipalities in the country. They're a great company, they're an A-rated carrier, and they sort of make it a little bit easier on both the town and the Board of Ed with regards to your renewal and premiums and how they're distributed. If you look at the bottom column, I'm sort of coming up with my recommendation as to what I think the renewal premium should be by town and Board of Ed. A lot of that reduction has to do with the Board of Ed losing that bus exposure. I mean, that's really the gist of it. So it's a matter of, you've had a 15-year relationship with Kerma. Kerma is Connecticut only. They are a risk pool. They have been there for you for 15 years, but we feel with the savings, the money on the table, it's too much to pass up. You'll notice on there that there's a couple ancillary coverages that Kerma does provide, one of them being cyber liability. They buy that policy for the pool in totality. This cyber liability coverage would be for you only, just for the Board of Ed and the town. It's your specific policy versus you sharing it with the pool. On there's pollution liability, where you're going to see that Kerma offers a $1 million pollution liability policy, and Trident does not. That policy that Kerma procures for their members does not include underground storage tanks. It's got an exclusion for asbestos, mold, lead, a lot of pollution exposures that if you wanted to get that coverage in the open market, it probably costs somewhere in the $2,500 a year range. I don't know if it's worthwhile to get, but it is an option there. A lot of information, so I'll sort of open it up if there's any questions or.
So the bottom line, the amount of money that the Board of Ed is going to save overall by going to Trident is, what's that number?
It would be.
429,030, right?
It'd be $80,000, the Board of Ed.
Well, it's 60 with the renewal.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, well, it's 80K.
80 off expiring.
Right. 80 off expiring, but their renewal is 60.
I'm looking at the,
Well, keep in mind, just you making that assumption of 60 is assuming that the town will absorb that extra money in their allocation.
Well, we had a deal with the town that we were gonna try this for 3 years, and if it did not work out, then we were going to split up again.
Right, so you're in year 2 right now. So,
But are we really in year 2
Well,
if we're starting all over
I
again?
have insider information that the town agreed to go with the Titan Club.
right, well,
Okay.
so last year was the first year was together.
Right, but that was with Kerma.
Correct.
Now with Trident, are we kind of starting all the to clock over again?
I'm starting the percentage allocation because it works out to
Right.
your benefit and to the town's benefit. But if you said we want to stay with Kerma, then both the Board of Ed and the town would have to get together and we'd have to rehash what the allocation would be because.
I'm not interested in staying with Kerma, especially after them not coming down on their rates.
Well, that's
So-
what I'm concerned with, is the allocation. Where did you develop, why is our liability, where did you develop these numbers from?
On work comp, it's very easy.
Yeah, well, I can understand
Okay,
that.
so-
That I understand. It's very easy on workers' comp.
Right.
The claim, that I have no argument with that.
The-
It's the liability piece of it.
That one's sort of more of I'm taking what the rates are for the buses. So on each bus, you had 25 buses. So I come up with a rate for the liability for the buses, for the property for the buses.
But we don't have buses anymore.
Correct. So that's where I'm getting my reduction from. You
That's
see what I
where-
mean?
that's where
So
he's-
expire, that's
pulling
where
up
I'm
these numbers.
coming up with that.
Okay.
I'm reducing it based on those buses being gone. So no longer do I have the exposure of sexual abuse and molestation for the bus drivers. I don't have the liability exposure for the autos. I don't have the property of the buses themselves. So my talks with Melinda and the town is my feeling is the Board of Ed's allocation should be dropping 80 grand year over year based on those exposures.
Okay.
And sort of, some of it is backing into it and some of it is coming up with actual rates.
Yeah, the allocations seem fair to me, I mean, just
Okay.
about
I mean,
on
you know,
first
so I'm
glance,
just
and that,
yeah.
it takes care of our 80 grand that we really wanted. And then just moving forward,
Talk
We
more
never-
about the pollution liability, because
Well,
we talked about
we'll need to talk
underground
about
tanks.
getting,
That's on the agenda for this
Yeah.
evening as well.
right.
And you can talk to Dan about the underground tank insurance after this.
Yeah, but I
Right.
think where Jody's going, and we're paying for pollution liability, but it sounds like you have to have, a parade of elephants and a hailstorm on 4th of July in order to claim anything. From what I just heard, it doesn't
One
cover
underground tank.
Well,
pollution.
the current policy with Kerma, you would
Yeah.
still be buying the underground storage tank policy even if you stayed with Kerma, because their policy excludes underground storage tanks. But you're right, those pollution policies are very specific. It's gotta be a new condition, no pre-existing conditions. It can't be an underground storage tank, it can't be mold, it can't be asbestos, it can't be lead, it can't be lead contaminated water. I mean, there are a lot of exclusions on those policies.
So if we went with Trident, we'd still have to buy a supplemental policy
If
for
you wanted
that?
to, I would say that the vast majority of towns that aren't with Kerma do not replace that policy because it doesn't cover a lot. You would buy that underground storage tank the policy,
But what is that, I mean, again, I'm not gonna hold you to numbers, but
Yeah.
does that suck up the
It's
62,000?
$900 for the
Oh,
underground storage tank policy, which you would be buying whether you stayed with Kerma or not.
it's separate no matter what.
Yeah, it's a separate.
So it sounds like we've been paying for a pollution policy that was useless.
For nothing.
Yeah, but who knows how much of a piece of the pie that was.
Right, you're saying 2,500 went out and bought, so it wasn't a big piece of the pie,
No.
but it
Yeah,
also
but
was
still,
useless.
it would've been nice
To
to
know
have the
that.
policy to go back and claim something, I mean,
Oh, no, but
that's why you buy it.
Right, but it sounds like
That's
there's
a-
nothing
No,
we ever
right.
would have had that we'd been able to claim.
That's a whole nother story
Right.
altogether,
Yeah.
so let's
Right.
not go there right now.
All right.
Yeah.
The underground tank is a different story.
That's what I'm
Right,
talking
right.
about. All right, so on this workers' comp and liabilities, anybody have any questions for Dan moving forward with this?
No.
But back to your point, I would say there were two separate things. We're in year 2 of our deal with the town,
Yeah.
period. I don't care who we use.
Okay, all right,
And next year is year 3,
Yeah.
and no matter who we're using, that's how we,
we can review it.
yeah, it's got
That's
nothing to do
fine.
with who we're using. Our deal's with the town, not with the insurance company.
No, I don't.
And
So-
as part of that, do we agree to take the broker's
Advice, yeah.
advice
Absolutely.
as to the distribution? So
Right,
So-
absolutely.
it's fine.
So if the town switches to Trident, we're going with them?
No, we do, they come
They're
with us.
coming with us.
They come, all right, so we're the ones that drives it.
I think that's been, I think that's what we had decided.
Yeah. That's the only way to make it work.
Of course.
Do you need anything from us, Bill, to make that work?
Well, this is, it's on our action items, take care of that. But, do we wanna talk about
Yeah.
The underground.
underground storage tanks now?
Yeah.
As long as we have them here?
It's on here. Remember last time we brought it before you, we talked about the $250,000 deductible, but it was $1 million worth of coverage. There was a conversation about covering all 3 tanks, and I think the board agreed that the 2 that are coming out, where's Mr. Birch?
He's
The 2
hiding
that
back
are
there.
coming out
I'm hiding behind Dan.
this month weren't worth insuring. But what the board did ask us to look into was what is it gonna cost if we increased the coverage to $2 million, correct, Dan?
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
To cover the one tank that was installed in 2007,
Thereabouts, yeah, 6, 7.
somewhere around there. It's for $2 million of coverage. It's $973 ish.
916.
Done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We cut you a check?
That makes perfect sense.
$916. Sorry.
Dan Book will take care of it.
That's our oldest tank, Bill?
And that'll be, Bill, that's the only thing left, right? Just that one?
That is the only underground tank left, that's correct.
And Mr. Rice will be here to take that one out when? How many more years?
Let's see, 2037, I believe, John, that one's coming out.
237. Come on, we'll go for the trifecta, you and me.
Yeah, right.
All right? Okay, so that makes perfect sense, to cover in case
So,
anything happens.
Do we need to add this to the agenda to accept the change from Kerma to Trident?
I think it's on the
It's,
agenda.
it
already
is,
there.
Where is
it's
it?
H.
H.
Oh, H, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see Trident, HG Sig.
Yeah.
Seeger, and that's for the workers' comp and liability.
Okay, yeah, I see it now.
And there's nothing on here for
Okay, not
for
only can
this,
I hear,
but
I
you can
can't
do
go
this.
blind.
You don't need our approval for this, you're gonna
What
just,
is
you
that?
can just do it. You can just do it. This is the $916 for the $2 million.
That's on the,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
well, that's
on
on the
here.
agenda too, that's
Where?
after.
That's on G, that's G. It's 900
Oh,
and,
I didn't-
how much is
I
it,
didn't see it. I
15 or
didn't see it.
53?
I didn't see it.
So much on
It says
$916.
$916 total premium.
916, all right.
Is that correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
All
you.
right, so it's $916.
Well, that's a no-brainer.
And it is there under G. All right, does anybody have questions of Dan, either
No.
underground storage or workers' comp?
No, thank you.
I guess
I
we're
don't.
good, thank you.
I asked my question.
All right.
Now we have to move.
Alice,
So next.
are you leaving, Mr. Rice?
So next on the agenda, I'm going to invite Principal Baker up. As you know, our district safety team has been doing a great deal with ramping up and improving our safety and security procedures in the district. One of the things that I asked Principal Baker to look into was Alice active shooter training, primarily for our faculty and staff, and eventually students. Principal Baker embraced the concept and went out, and she is now an official certified Alice trainer. And she's just going to give us a quick overview of what she learned a little bit, and then our plans for implementation for next year to train our faculty and staff.
There. Can we work on that? Okay, well, my old eyes, I'm sorry. I need to have the lights on, so I can see what I'm reading. There we go.
That's good.
And speaking of being old, as I think back to my own elementary level, school levels, I am sure that some of you can think of the drills that you were put through. We were deep in the Cold War and hiding under our desks.
I did that.
We did, didn't we?
Yes,
Like it was
we
gonna help.
did.
I was in Ledyard. We were pretty close to Groton. It wasn't gonna help much. By law, we are mandated in the state of Connecticut to have at least one drill, one sort of fire drill, tornado drill, bomb scare, some kind of a drill once a month, 10 months out of the year. And I'll say we are really darn good at fire drills. So much so that the high school loves to throw in a couple extra just for fun. No, and seriously. And we're good at that because that's what we constantly practice. The last student who perished in a school fire was 1957.
Wow.
So it's time that we start looking at what are our current, we're no longer doing nuclear bomb drills. We need to look at what our current crises are in our communities so that we can start to respond appropriately. The nature of a lockdown drill, this is what a lockdown drill also looks like, started in Southern California in the 1970s, probably in gang hoods, because the threat was outside. It was a response to drive-by shooting. So of course, behind our cinder block walls with the shades pulled down and the lights off, you were no longer a target for somebody outside driving by, and evacuation was not an option because the threat was outside. If you knew that an active shooter were in the building right now, and we as our teachers told you to get in the corner, away from the windows, turn the lights down, and sit. You're adults, and think about that. We're asking you to sit, we're asking you to wait, we're asking you to not respond, but otherwise make yourself a passive target. 1985, Concord, New Hampshire. Miscommunication, a dropout student comes in with a gun, and the SRO of the day fatally shoots him. Since 1999 in Columbine. We're almost 20 years into lockdown. Go hide in the corner. We have to change our practices, and that's what Alice is. Alice is looking at giving us permission to change our practice. The threat is no longer outside our cinder block walls, it's inside our halls, and we need to know how to keep everyone safe. Alice is alert, lock down, inform, counter, and evacuate. And the mission is simple, is to save as many lives as possible. They talk about violent critical incidences, and they define them as you can read. Any event at any location where a person, or more than one, attempts to harm innocent people by any means and regardless of motivation. But the survival rate is key, that it's got to, the people that are there have to take the control, who render the event no longer dangerous, or people get out. So hiding in the corner with the doors closed, window shades out, I'll say it over and over again, is not necessarily the option any longer. Again, it takes a long time to hurt a lot of people. I'm going to go back to that group of lambs hiding in the corner. I'm not trained, and I come in with a gun, and I have 10 rounds in my gun. There are 20 of you in the corner. How many of you are going to get hurt? 10? Yes. Bullets go through people. And if you're huddled in a corner, so there are a lot of strategies. The shots fired every 4 to 15 seconds, and 50% of the time, someone is hit. We talk about, this is from the Virginia Tech. They've got different classrooms. Room 210, there's no one in the classroom, it's empty. Nobody is hurt. You've got a couple of others, I'm sorry that it's so hard to see, but what you've got is the number of students that perished, students that were hurt, but they talk about being passive versus being proactive. 205 and 204 had students in there. In one of the classrooms, they barricaded the door and made it difficult for the person to get in because they're looking for easy targets, easy kills. So what's going to happen is if that door is hard to get into, or they open the door to a pile full of chairs, they're not going to fight through that. They're looking to get in and out and make this thing happen. The other room, people got out. So you can see the level of survival rate, the level of the green. Again, Alice. Alice Training Institute, Mrs. Jen Vera and I, math teacher at the high school, attended a 2-day program, and this is the program we're going to bring back to Thompson. It's very proactive. It gives you additional options other than turning off the lights and hiding in a corner. It also assumes that not every event is going to be the same. We could train you 9 ways to Wednesday. We're not going to train you for the right event. So you have to have options. Alice, the alert, inform, all of those acronyms are not sequential. They're options that you choose based on the information that you get. And it increases the odds of survival, and it's very research-based. So let's go through real quickly because I don't want to take a lot of time tonight. Alert, it's about the initial awareness. When you see something, say something, and we have to designate who's going to do that communication. Because if Danielle comes on the intercom for the entire district, and says, active female shooter located outside the office in the early education center. Everybody's heard it. You're in the middle school, what are you gonna do? Out. You're in the high school, you're out. You're up at the old Mary R. Fisher Elementary School. You're out going through the middle school. You're not going back into the parking lot, but you're able to make those decisions. So it's about, okay, what's the information that we need to get out? How are we getting the information to our first responders? Who's making them and who's receiving them? The days of the codes are gone. You have to be point blank. I mean, if I had time, I would show you a video where they're in a hospital setting and they start calling out silver alert, silver alert. That could mean some person over the age of 80 with gray hair has fallen in the emergency room. It was an active shooter in the emergency room. So using plain English. In a lockdown, the traditional lockdown plus, know your options. You're barricading the door. You're making it somehow harder for them to get in. You're spreading out within the room. You're not huddling together. Do not open the door for anyone. If you're able to dial 911, but also you've got a bucket of first aid supplies, but also other supplies that we're talking about getting together for all of our staff. So coming back in August, one of our first rollouts will be Build Your Bucket. So you'll have a 5-gallon bucket full of a variety of items, from tourniquets to bungee cords to tampons. What better plug for a bullet hole? But there are certain things that we're going to think about. How can we secure the door? We let our fire departments come up and do their hoses every year. You take one of those hoses that doesn't pass the muster and you cut it into 8-inch strips. You see those elbows over the door? You slide that right over that elbow hinge. That door's not opening. Simple things like that that we can just keep in a 5-gallon bucket. So it's options. If you have a door that opens in, you can stack chairs against that door, or tables and chairs against that door to the wall, creating what's called a bridge, and that door's not going to open in. But if your door opens out, you need to know what the options are so that you can do the best thing, because if you don't have a second egress, and everyone's got a second egress except perhaps the second floor in the elementary school, if you don't have a second egress, you need to know how to keep yourself safe. So there are some examples of barricading and fortify. Glass. Everybody needs to know that if you need to break glass to get out of your room and you're worried about the safety of a child, maybe getting cut on the way out. I'm sorry, Mom, your daughter's leg got cut on the way out. Why would you be sorry? My daughter's alive. Sure, we live in a litigious society. Anybody can sue you. Anybody can be sued. But in all of these cases, not one lawsuit has been successful. The other thing that you need to know about is, if you're going to go ahead and break that glass door, we need to get the word, or the glass window, we need to get the word out, don't hit it in the middle. You need to hit it in a bottom corner. That's where it's going to shatter. So again, breaking free from the idea of hide, we need to get the information out so that people know what their options are. As far as the I in Alice, inform. It's real-time information. It's using our PA system, our phones, our radios. It's Melinda's working with our first responders to have them be able to tap in straight to our video feed. But also too, again, if you can imagine that Danielle is in a safe location and she's on the PA system and she's letting everybody know that the active shooter is now moving down past the woodworking shop in the high school. Now I know in Mr. So-and-so's room around the corner, I now can get out. But also, too, think about the intruder. All of their moves, all of their next tactics are being announced for everybody. Well, you're messing up what's, and I'll go into what their OODA loop, which is their decision-making process. Counter, the C in Alice. Very clearly, counter is not fighting, it's just taking back the control. If there were somebody that were going to threaten us in this room, look at us. How many of us are there? We win simply in numbers. If they're coming in the room with an AR-15, you win by the first 12 inches that came into the door first. And if you've got somebody there that's knocking down the barrel and you've got somebody underneath them that's knocking the person over, you've just tackled the person to the floor. because they didn't expect you to not go down passively. So countering, it's about messing up their thought process, because what they have to do is they have to get the target in sight, they have to take the sight alignment, they've got a whole bunch of different things. This is the OODA loop process, where they're observing, they're orienting, they're deciding, and then they're acting. Any type of distraction in that process, they've got to start that over again. And again, they're there to get in and get out quickly. The E in Alice, evacuate. When it is safe and you can get out, get away. We, as our district safety committee meeting, have identified rally points. We're working with local businesses, local municipalities on, if our kids need to get out and run down to Dollar General, we'll find them. We're not going to wait for the buses to come down so we can load them up to get up to the raceway. We will find them, and I would rather find them out and alive at a friend's house the next day than to do a body count in a classroom. I know we feel vulnerable. I know there are things in the news right now that are saying there's an active shooter situation in schools on average this year once a week. I do have the article. I'll be happy to send it to you. That does take into a lot of parameters. It's not that grave. We do have May 25th, May 18th, May 11th, April 9th, March 20th, March 2nd, and February 14th as true active shooter events in schools. Is that way too many? One is way too many. So yes, is it happening? Yes. Don't get so down and depressed though that it's a matter of when. As long as we are, I mean, the nuclear blast, it was a matter of when, right? So, but we have to take charge and be ready if. So Alice is the condition of the result of the learning retention. We are going to be rolling this out through our teachers with what's called a blended learning approach, where they will be given access to a digital platform where they are taking a 90-minute course. They will have access to this starting August 15th, so that when we come back in, we have any kinds of questions that could be answered. But looking at our professional development plan that Mr. Poland has just presented to you, looking at the professional learning day where we are bringing our entire staff together beyond just building our buckets so that we can go through a training with them. What is really wonderful is when we were looking for sites to go do the training at, they're all in Massachusetts, Boston, they're not very close. And I love being a learning center. I don't know if you remember the last time I did a NEWA learning center, or a regional development opportunity. We've been accepted by Alice to be your regional hub. We are going to be offering for surrounding areas, Ledgers, RAM, many school districts and employees of EastCon, as well as all the way down at Learn, have already expressed interest. It's a 2-day training, October 10th and 11th, that we will be hosting 50 seats. What's great is by our hosting and our working with Mrs. Duran and doing continental breakfast in the morning, not only will we be able to promote Turtle Rock and Thompson and all the wonderful things that are going on here, and the fact that we are being so proactive in our push to protect all of our students and our teachers, that we'll be able to get 5 seats free. So that's kind of my push, because it is fairly expensive. But at the end of the day, it is incredibly worth it. So again, Alice is the alert, the lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. And while I had a whole bunch of notes, I didn't go by any of them. Really nice job.
Fine with
Thank you.
That's good.
Any questions? I know it's a lot. I think the biggest thing is we need to be able to give our adults, our students who have the ability to, the freedom, the permission to evaluate and do what they need to do. And if you think about developmentally teaching this to our younger students, if we can teach our 4- and 5-year-olds Mr. Yuck and even stranger danger, we can do this developmentally sensitive as well.
How are we going to present this to how are you going to communicate this to the parents
of these children.
Right, and that is our next charge. Our
Okay.
first step was to bring it to you, to let you know
Yeah.
that this was going. We only just got accepted to do the professional regional opportunity. But we do, we need to get our community involved, we need to let our people out there know that this is what we're doing, so that they can ask questions, but also feel empowered that if they wanna know more information, that they're welcome to come and ask. But we do, we need to be able to work together to get that
Because
information.
this is a scary, scary
Absolutely.
thing.
Initially, we're gonna put it in an update in our newsletter that gets mailed home in August, letting people know where our, we've just gotten, Bill Birch, Danielle and I have secured our reunification site at Thompson Speedway. So, God forbid we had to evacuate the campus, we've been accepted to
Right.
go there, and they've been more than gracious to help us. So putting all those plans in place and letting families know, that's where you would go if we ever had to leave the campus. It's not a secret anymore, we need to get that
Right.
message out.
Right.
And I need to compliment the whole entire district, safety and security team, because, we had a meeting today. Everybody's working really hard, putting a lot of plans in place, but Megan's right. You have to have a lot of strategies. God forbid something does happen, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an active shooter. It can be a variety of emergencies, but you're gonna have to think on your feet. And so that's the kind of skills we wanna teach our teachers and students eventually. Thank you, Megan, that was
Thank
excellent.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you.
Cool.
That's great for you. Oh, Mr. Angela?
Yes.
They're a little taller than I am. You wear the right shoes.
We've gotta work some deals.
Push it twice. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is our July meeting. There's a conflict with the date. In the past, we've even eliminated it altogether. I can't say that we can or can't do it right now, so.
We're thinking of the 16th, is that
Yes.
correct, Danielle?
That's correct.
July 16th.
Okay.
July
So
9th.
it'll
What
become a
date?
special meeting, but we're gonna, is everybody okay with that date?
No, I'm not. But, you don't need to.
What's the date?
16th, it's a Monday.
Yes, of course.
It should be a fairly light agenda for July. We'll have the action item for, adding the, change of rate of the, elementary lunch. And that one rescission I know for sure, but it should be a fairly light agenda.
All right,
I'll
so
be away.
Joe's gonna be away, Kathleen can't make it. Everybody else good with that right now?
So far.
Yep.
Okay, and if we find we don't need a meeting, we can change that too, but let's plan on the 16th for now. Okay.
Excuse me, Bill,
You'll miss it.
that's gonna, excuse me, that's gonna piggyback on the building committee, but
I'm-
I just
I'm treasurer.
conferred with Mr. Rice, we're gonna push building committee, make it quick.
And I have to, it's auction.
Okay.
Building committee is that day, so building committee
Oh,
would
it's
be
that
at
day?
6.
That's a Monday.
Monday.
The 14th was a Monday, the 16th would be a Wednesday.
I think it's a Wednesday.
I'm looking at it, it's a Monday.
18th is a Wednesday.
It's a
Monday
Monday.
is the
Oh.
16th.
July
Monday.
16th is a Monday.
My mistake.
Oh,
What time, 6?
well, we'll do, it'll be probably 6. If it's a special meeting, we can change it all up.
Yeah, but,
Oh,
we have to vote on that, I don't know.
Yeah, it's over here.
No. When we get to the vote, we'll decide what day and time.
Okay.
Or you're sitting here saying you'll decide what time.
You tell me.
I don't care, doesn't matter to me. How about 8:32?
6:30 then, all right. Okay, we good? All right, let's quickly go through our administrator reports. Mr. Scott, you wanna start us off?
Sure. Let's start with the first thing that I did today was the boat building. So we had 8 students go out to Mystic today to board the Brilliant, and they're going there from today, and they come back on Friday. And so we went out there this morning. They were so excited. We took a before picture. So hopefully Ms. Smith will be there to take an after picture. after it's done. I sent the parents all the update information as well as the pictures, and then you can also track the brilliant on the water. And I had a parent email me just about a half hour ago, checking on her son to see where he was located. So it's an exciting opportunity for our students.
And it's
very
just-
cool.
It's very cool, and you know, this was a grant from Mystic Seaport, and I just can't thank them enough. And that was our relationship with the Connecticut Marine Trades Association. And Chris has been instrumental, along with Danielle, in organizing all of that and getting the children to the boat safely this morning. And we understand they're gonna come back thoroughly exhausted.
Yep.
So.
Hence the after picture. 8. We have seven seventh graders and 1 8th grader that attended. And then next Tuesday, we are going out on the water to test the boat that they built. So that'll be next Tuesday, I think at 8:30.
Where are you doing that?
Thompson Dam.
Okay.
Yep. We also had our Patriots player. So one of the initiatives that we had at the middle school this year was to increase physical activity. We incorporated a cardio time. So we partnered with Fuel Up to Play 60, and we developed, we actually got a grant. We did a walking club. So Mr. Cooper and Ms. Palazzo Gagnon were the people who the 2 teachers who spearheaded it. We actually had, I told you last time, we had one of our ambassadors get a scholarship to go to Georgia over the summer. So through this whole initiative with Field to Play, we were selected as a school to have a Patriots player come to the school. So last week, Derek Rivers and also Thompson's own Keysor came to the school to talk about the importance of eating healthy and physical activity. So it was an hour, but it was a fun hour that they were here for. So that was a highlight for us. I have a number of things, fantastic things that happened this past month. We had our High Honors Breakfast. We had 2 students recognized, Jimmy Denoya and Kylie Smith, recognized by the CAST Association for the middle level Scholar Leader Awards. We had our DARE graduation. We had 17 new students inducted to the NJHS. We had Relay for Life. Our NJHS members raised over $2,000 for the American Cancer Society. We had a fantastic showing at the Thompson Comes Alive, if you remember that. That was amazing. The kids were outstanding.
Very, very cool.
It was a spectacular event. And last thing I want to highlight is our baseball team. Not only were division champs, but we're also QVJC champions this year too, with a record of, I think it was 9-1.
Yeah.
So it was a fantastic season.
Yeah.
It was a great month.
Good for us. Thank you.
It was good. It was good enough to earn that coach a slot on our American Legion program.
Oh yeah?
Yes, he's now coaching at the American Legion level.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, this is hard to top, so let's see. Roll up the sleeves, Ms. Beltram. Let's start with a thank you to Killingly Central School. Yeah, well, I'm not competitive now.
Yeah, no.
Killingly Central School opened their doors, and I love to meet their principal. Emily is over there, and she really did a nice job opening the doors and letting us come in to see purposeful play. We're bringing this program, we started it in kindergarten and preschool. We're expanding all of that next year as part of what Ian had laid out with all our initiatives. And when we say student ownership for learning, that is part of that program. And so designing their play plans, watching a 5-year-old develop a play plan and then execute the play plan is intriguing, it's interesting, and they're playing with a purpose. And they're bringing in all of the core subjects into that. They're bringing in their math, they're bringing in their reading and science, and along the way is all of the Second Step Violence Prevention Program. So the children are cooperative learning, And when situations come up and they report out at the end of the session how they did, they rate themselves and all of that. One boy was like, oh, and she just quickly came in and all the kids were like, oh, it was really good what you made. So they're very supportive, and to see that atmosphere, we went to see first grade because we've seen kindergarten and we've started it in kindergarten, and to expand that into first grade, it's a great program, and so that was our purpose, to go over to Killingly Central School, and through Elizabeth Ashburn, she was there also to kind of pull us together, and got to see Tom Auclair's daughter, which is so funny. It's a small world, as they say, and so she's a coach over there, and it was just. So I invited them over anytime, you know, it's nice to have partnerships.
No comments.
Yeah, nice to have those partnerships. And moving on to Marriott Fisher PTO, we just had our wrap-up meeting for the year, and the amount of work and events and energy and support from our Marriott Fisher PTO is second to none. I encouraged all of our kindergarten new parents, a lot of new parents, at our orientation, and to join PTO, because it's just a great organization. Our field trips would not happen without them. They give each grade level $1,000, and besides raising their own money for all kinds of projects, they're putting up the new shade piece structure outside. They field requests from different teachers. If the budget doesn't support whatever, they help us out in so many different ways. So I just want to thank publicly our Marriott Fisher PTO. And speaking of helping out the school, our grant funders, I think it should go at the end of the year, not to be unnoticed, that you got International Paper, who's done a fabulous job supporting us, and again, I was talking to Lindsay, we're ready to get our grant project off the ground. And Mystic Aquarium, you've talked about Mystic Aquarium. We've been with them also for the last 3 years. Amy Goldberg, she just sent a nice email. We had our 4th grade teachers go to Mystic for a day and get a full day of professional development. They're funding again in the fall. For our 4th graders will go to the outdoor program that they have, and also go to Mystic Aquarium, the whole 4th grade, all free of charge. So there's somebody out there that has lots of money and putting it to good use for young kids. So they are anonymous, because I've tried to ask her, you know, but she says, no, we can't tell. So they've been just, for middle school, for us, for years, they've been a great partner out there. And my last partner, Roseland Cottage, who's also supplied grant funds for us to go. Recently, 3rd grade went yesterday, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade have gone to Roseland Cottage. And you'll see their setup during the Woodstock Fair. You know, they have a little corner, and they're, you know, encouraging people. And I'm so glad we've done this over the years. It's a great program for all of the grades, and all those people are volunteers. And so every time they come back, they tell me all about, you know, they learned to barter, and they learned how to pack a can, and they learned how to dip candles, and they learned how to do this and that. So lots of learning outside in the field, which is good to hear. And last is Camp Invention. A couple of years ago, we struggled to make 30. I think they let us go with 34 that year. Last year we increased a little bit more, and this year we have 43 students who are going to attend Camp Invention, and which is a great increase. So we have to also increase our teachers. So we'll have 3 teachers so far. We perhaps might get to 50 by the time we open on the 25th. So science is alive and kicking down there. It's great to see.
Thank you. Megan?
Our liaisons for the high school talk mostly about what's coming up, and obviously the board report that you have for the past 30 days. I just really want to make sure that everybody knows about tomorrow's senior walk at noon, starting at Mary R. Fisher Elementary School. Thank you very much to both of the elementary school and the middle school for continuing to support us and celebrate our students' success. We will also be looking forward to the graduation. If there's any more communication you need to have with Donna before then, we look forward to your attendance. We'll have your robes waiting for you in the conference center, so that that'll be Monday at 6 o'clock. The students will be showing up at about 5. So please, we look forward to you joining us.
Thank you.
And if I may, I had such a list I completely forgot. Our moving up ceremony is next week, the 21st, at 6 o'clock. So we're looking forward to that.
Okay, great. Ryan, you have anything for us?
I'll just say, I'm pleased to say that standardized testing season is over. Couldn't be happier to announce that.
Did I pass?
We'll see. We don't have the grades back, but we do know that standardized testing season is over, so that's, I'm very pleased to say that. Also, I just want to say in reference to something you brought up, Tom, a little while ago, I started hitting up the 7th graders about Turlock back in October, so, and I've been down there pretty frequently, so you are absolutely correct. It's never too soon to start working them. That bubble you referenced, not just the 8th graders, but even the 7th and 6th. In fact, I had my last 3rd grade tour of students coming through the middle school and the high school this time. And I don't know, I think I've done about 5 or 6 of those this year. So you got 3rd graders coming up visiting. It was so popular last year that 4th grade actually started sending me kids who wanted to come back again. And building up on those partnerships, you know, one of the things we do have places like the shop that other buildings just don't have. And so we're actually building some partnerships right now with the elementary, with students who might need that as some sort of opportunity for a reward of some sort. So we've got that, our first attempt at something like that this week. So just wanted to say it's never too early. We start young.
Good. Thank you. Larry, Mr. Prentice, you have anything?
Just want to plug Megan's and Ian's senior walk. I'm really excited. I've known these kids since they were in 5th grade, elementary school, so I'm really excited to see them. You know, a lot of great kids, a lot of good things happening, and I know a lot of them will do very, very well. So just proud to be part of that.
Great.
For graduation night, are we meeting in the high school
Usually
office?
it's the library, isn't it? Or the office.
No, the office.
Right? Because then we walk out.
We usually, the last 2 years we've been doing it in the conference room, but
In the library last
does
year.
have better space, but I've got better air conditioning in the conference room.
Last,
Whatever. I don't know.
I'm just saying, I've only
So
done
where?
two. First year it was the principal's
No, go to
conference.
the
Second-
principal's conference
Yeah.
room.
Okay.
And then if we could, please, I'd love to organize a picture of you on the stairs before you start your walk.
Yep. And the middle school is the 21st.
6 o'clock.
The students come in at 5, the procession will start at 6.
So you want the board in your
By
conference
like
room?
5:30-ish,
By
at the
5:30.
latest.
And I'll have cold water waiting.
Depending on how long it takes you to get dressed.
And we get good parking spots. This is the only day we get decent parking spots.
You must know somebody.
He gives it away to my wife every year.
I only give them away to your wife.
Bill, do you have anything to wrap up the year?
Just a quick update on all our environmental stuff. The oil spill back here, we had to put off drilling, was supposed to happen on June 2nd and 3rd. The drilling crew couldn't get here. They're scheduled to start on the 27th to July 3rd. That should be complete. We'll get that information off to the state and off to the attorneys so that hopefully this can progress. Ty and Bond, our engineering firm, has been here. They've done the site survey, they've done the surveying, and they've looked at the building. We hope to very shortly have cost estimates on the 2 tanks that need to be replaced. And then at that point, that can go to the town for referendum, and hopefully we can move forward with that project. Ty and Bond has also been on site to do a survey of our property and our site to see what our options are for alternative energy. and I also hope to have that pretty quickly. And we have an awful lot going on here this summer, particularly in the middle school. There's a lot of painting. We are doing more ceilings. This space is gonna be renovated. The lockers are all gonna be painted. We have a new floor going in the weight room, and that room's gonna be painted. Elementary and high school both have new floors going in their music areas. So we're gonna be pretty busy, and we have the security work. All the hardware will be done, the building will be renumbered. It's gonna be a busy summer.
Good. You got all your summer help lined up?
No, my summer help is leaving me.
Oh.
So I am in the process of looking for new summer help.
Yeah.
One of the Angelo boys bailed on me.
Slackers.
The Wachowski kids all left too, so.
Kids down on the boat.
You're gonna have to blame Mr. Steglitz though, because he recruited him away for an intern
I know.
in accounting.
Living in the ocean.
Okay, so we good? Anybody have questions for any of our administrators? Okay, we got some action items and we can get out of here. First, the minutes of the May 14th meeting.
Move to accept.
We have a motion from Joe, could I have a second? Linda, thank you. So are there any corrections, omissions, deletions? You good?
Correction.
What's your, what?
The May enrollment was 1,003 students.
Where are you?
Out of 1,005.
It's in the minutes somewhere?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it
it's
would
on,
be.
it's on the second page. You good? Okay. Is that it?
You missed it.
All right, all those in favor of accepting with Kathleen's catch, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay, we have one abstention. Motion passes. The, oh, yeah, I'll do that next. All right, so then our special meeting of May 24th, could I have a motion?
I have a motion.
A motion by Kathleen, second with Val. This was to accept the DACO contract. Any corrections, omissions, deletions?
Anything happen?
Anything on it? Okay. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstentions? Oh, okay. Good. Now, I want to add something to action items. I just need a 2/3 vote. This is just to add it. This was the leave of absence that we investigated last meeting for Andrea. So this is only to add to action items. So could I have a motion to add this to action items, please?
I'll make a motion to add that to the action item.
And we have a second by Linda. Now this is just to add it. All those in favor of adding it, please say aye.
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 Abstentions? Anybody say no? Okay. So that will be K, a leave of absence. All right, now, B is to add middle school, high school free breakfast. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to add the free breakfast to the action items. Is that right?
Well, no, not this. It is an action item. I just need your motion to.
I make a motion.
You make a motion to add free breakfasts to the middle and high schools.
Perfect.
And Mr. Sean as a second. Discussion?
Is this going to be a grant to do this?
No, it pays for itself, actually, just like the elementary. Do you want to explain that a little bit, Lisa?
Well, basically, we qualified for severe needs breakfast,
Oh,
and,
does it-
which gives us a little more of a reimbursement per meal.
For high school,
Okay,
high
yeah.
school. Oh,
This is, those are our reimbursements for our lunches. We get severe needs this year for our elementary and our middle and our high, because there's a higher percentage of free and reduced kids that purchase the breakfast.
so we reimburse.
This is what, every time a free student gets a breakfast, that's what we give that from the state, $2.09. So when I plan a meal, I keep the cost on $9.
Okay, so we are reimbursed for this program?
Yes.
Okay.
We get reimbursements for all the meals.
It's been so successful, they wanna roll it out to the other two schools.
Yeah, no, I understand, and,
we'll
okay, I
see,
just
we'll
didn't
see how
know
it works, we can always change it.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Motion passes. We have free breakfast everywhere now. School bucks transaction fee. I have a motion.
I'll move to, accept that, to add that. It was $1.35 per train.
$1.35, yes.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'll second it.
And a second by Linda. Discussion?
So, just explain to me, it's $1.35.
Every
It's-
transaction.
Every
When
transaction.
when somebody uses a credit card, there's always a credit card fee, and we've been paying it kind of like that.
It's like a
There's always been a
GoFundMe
fee.
fee.
So we want the parent to pay the fee. So if they do it 2 or 3 times a year and put money on, there's only a couple of transaction fees, but we shouldn't have to pay it.
We've paid it
So
since
the people that are
2012.
Is it, is it a flat, is it a flat rate, or is it
It's
a?
$1.35, period.
Per transaction.
Per transaction. So if they,
No, this
if
is
they
only
wanna
when
put
you- when you
$30 on their
reload
student's
your
account.
Yeah, for money.
people who are
They'll
paying
automatically
for it.
get charged
Yeah,
$1.35 for the
That's the only
transaction.
people that
Oh,
are
so
paying.
we've been paying,
We've been paying it.
Everyone will be
Yeah.
free.
Except for lunches.
okay.
Right, and it's been what, you said $4,000 or $5,000 a year?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
for 3
So-
years, it's over $14,000 we've
Well, I mean,
paid.
if somebody's putting money in every single month, I mean, you've got what, 10 months for the school year? I mean, right there, I mean,
Right.
start adding that up per
Yeah.
family,
Absolutely.
it starts adding up.
It encourages them to put in less.
More.
Yeah, just do
More-
one lump
more-
sum if you
No,
can, or
that's
at
when
least
we
2.
pay.
Less time.
When
Be
we
done.
pay, it encourages them to put in less money.
Right.
When we
Right.
pay for it.
Program
Oh, yeah.
does
Yeah,
Yeah,
automatic.
when they pay for it, they maximize their
Right.
deposit.
Yeah, how's that gonna work? Is that gonna be,
That's all internal, we won't have to deal with any of that.
What-
The
but
software
how,
company will.
if I have a student and I wanna put $40 on the account, how am I gonna know it's $41.35?
Well, we'll get the word out ahead of time, and also, the software company,
It shows on their
They
account.
should
it
put a
will show on
transaction
their
fee.
account.
Okay, well,
When
you're
they-
gonna let them know
as
ahead
they're
of time.
cashing out.
In the newsletter,
Yeah.
we're raising the price, the elementary
Right.
price, so all that information will be out there.
Yes.
How does reimbursement happen if you overpay?
For, like, a
If I
student
put
that's
40
leaving,
and then my child decides I'm not buying lunch,
the
how do
parent
I get
just-
the 40 back?
You just contact me, and I, or if there's, like, if the student is leaving, you have a choice to, like, give it to your other student if there's a sibling, right into their account. If the student is graduating and they've got $40 on their account, at that time, the students that are leaving, I automatically do that. I'll reimburse the parent at the end of the year, or whenever they ask for it, actually.
I'm a little empathetic to the parents who are actually paying for the meals. Now they're gonna get hit with the fee. I had a child who had $10 in his account from freshman through senior. I think actually it's probably still in his account. Because I don't remember getting it back.
Snooze, you lose, lady, you lose it after 2 years.
You know,
Dr. Jolin at that.
and you have a percentage
said
that don't
anything
pay,
over $5,
you know, I just.
we would refund.
Yeah, what do you
I think
do?
it's
I mean,
the
does
ones
state
who-
active?
I don't-
No, it gets closed out and it goes into a general fund somewhere.
Yeah.
I guess they'd have to ask for it back, and nobody's
Thanks for your donation.
not giving it back.
It's not automatic,
Well,
if it's
that
less
we
than
raise the cost
$5
of the
that
lunches to
we
include the
don't
fee.
go through
I
the
mean,
whole process,
The problem
anything
is,
over
it's
that,
the
we
same
get back to the
people that are
parents.
paying for it, we're raising the cost. And again, I'm trying to be empathetic to the ones who have to pay,
Right.
all right? So they're paying, now we're gonna have a fee. On top of that, we wanna raise it 5 cents, and then we have this
Agreed,
whole,
but we shouldn't be absorbing that cost. We're getting charged
but we're absorbing a cost of
for
folks
their
that don't pay.
convenience. It's for their
Year after year
convenience.
after year. Huh?
They don't have to sit down and write out a check. It's for their convenience. The town does it when you pay by credit card.
Yes,
They're charging
I'm
you
just-
$2 or $3 per transaction. So,
That's just
And they
how
don't
I
have to
feel.
pay
I
that
think-
way. They don't have to pay that way. A lot of them still do come in with cash.
Yeah, we still get checks in cash.
You know, it's
choice.
crazy because everybody wants to go electronic, it's supposed to be easier and more cost effective, but it's not.
but it
Well, actually though,
It's
it is.
not.
It's not cheaper to pay $1.35 on a computer than drive all the way here and give them
No,
a check.
what I'm saying is
I mean,
it's a push of a button,
Right.
and you're charging them money. I have the same issue even
I
at our
understand
company.
that. I agree with you, but it is still cheaper for somebody to spend $1.35 at their computer at home than drive here with a check.
And it's a lot
No,
more
I
convenient.
get that, but what I'm saying is it doesn't cost you $1.35 to push the button.
No, but the company has to run a company.
It's a profit center. I have the same issue at our own company. It's a profit center,
There's a
and I
cost-
think it's
there's a cost
extortion.
to writing checks, you have to pay for the checks.
I don't think $1.35.
I still pay.
No, I know, it's the principle of the thing.
Maybe I should
Yeah,
look into that.
but they don't have to use that either. They can
No,
send in a check and they can send in
Yeah,
cash.
I get it. Okay, well, let's not beat this to death, so we, it is. So we have a motion and a second, right?
We do.
All right, so all those in favor of this, of approving the transaction fee, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
I'm opposed.
And abstentions, well, passes, okay. All right, budget transfers, we don't need any budget transfers, rescissions. Do you have a motion, please? To recall.
I make a motion to recall certified teachers. I mean, do you have a list?
How are you gonna do that?
There's 19, you didn't put the list? No.
I don't
19.
wanna
Right,
say except
I would
for
do that.
one person, but.
There is one that we're still keeping, on the layoff status
So how about if,
until next month.
you said 19?
All right, so
So the motion
19
would be that we are going, I'll make a motion that we recall 19 certified staff for the 18-19 year.
As proposed by the superintendent.
As proposed by the superintendent.
Okay, good, so we have a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jody. Any other questions, concerns, comments? And this, they'll be notified, what, like tomorrow?
Yes.
I guess for discussion
Letters are
purposes,
ready.
this is as good a time as any, just to have this discussion. When would we know about possibly bringing back any of those paras?
That is to balance the budget, remember?
No, I know why, but I know we talked about if numbers, depending on enrollment, whatnot, or special ed, or whatever.
That's gonna be,
So it's gonna be August.
fluctuate
It
on
might
the
be August,
enrollment.
September, maybe
Yeah.
even October.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, just curious.
Okay,
So, I just need a vote.
so we have the motion, we have a second. All those in favor of recalling the teachers, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Okay, so that part's done. Our underground, nope, our salary for our salary step
Skip right over.
facility
Real nice.
manager. I wasn't doing that on purpose.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't. You know I love you, William. All right,
So-
could I have a motion for purposes of discussion? Could I have
I'd
a
like
motion?
to approve the recommendation made by the superintendent.
In a second, and a second by Jody, discussion.
Oh, me,
Anybody?
do you want,
Anybody have
know
any-
how I came to
anybody?
that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do we?
Previously, we had certain, staff people that were aligned to the step increases of our certified teachers. Mr. Birch, kind of maxed out at that top step, and we had no other place to, no other increment to increase his salary. So I created 3 additional steps, 15, 16, and 17, and basically what I did was I aligned the difference to the difference that the teachers would have gotten on those steps.
And Mr. Birch has seen this, and is he, you all right with this?
Yeah, he hasn't actually seen it.
Oh, yes.
Hey, then we're good.
Then let's do this quickly before he sees it.
I'd ask for an elevator instead of a step, man.
Anybody have questions, concerns, for the superintendent? Since he's got such a rousing recommendation from Mr. Rice, I don't know how we could refuse. So, all those in favor, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor of aligning the facility director pay with these steps, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Okay, motion passes. Next on our list is the underground tank insurance policy. May I have a motion
I move to apply for the underground tank insurance policy.
in a total of $916.
$916.
And we have a second from Linda. Discussion on this, kind of pretty easy for $2 million. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain? That passes. The workers' comp liability policy to go from Kerma to Trident. Do you have a motion?
Motion, we go to the Trident, change our, from Kerma to Trident.
We have a motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Discussion? We're good? All those in favor of making the change, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Next, our July meeting date. We have it proposed right now to change it to July 16th, which is a Monday, and we'll do it at 6:30. Do I have a motion?
By change, do we have to say the location too, or no? Does that?
Well, when it's posted, yeah,
It won't be here.
when it's posted, no, he'll be in the middle of working here anyway.
Right.
So when the agenda's posted,
So we don't
we'll
need to
have
do
it.
that in the
I
vote,
don't
we
think
just
so.
need to vote for the date
I don't
change.
think so. We'll
Okay,
do it
all right.
someplace
Yep.
nice. We could do it at the library if you want. I don't care.
We'll do it at your house on the
We
lake.
could do it at my house. We'll go on the boat.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so all those in favor of changing the date, please? Huh? Oh, we need a,
Sean, I could put a motion.
did you make
Oh,
a
sure.
motion?
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we change it to the
Second.
16th at
Jody?
6:30.
All right,
6:30.
That's Bill's house.
6:30. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain?
Done.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Bill's house it is.
We need to accept the retirement of Donna Weaver. Could I have a motion?
Move to
With
accept
regret.
with regrets, yeah.
With regrets.
We
I'll
have a
second.
motion by Tom, and a second by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstentions? Good. Last was the leave of absence for Andrea Tomeo. It's all in accordance with contract. Could I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion here? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Motion passes. Correspondence, I have none. Do you have any?
No, but Megan's raising her hand.
Do you have correspondence? Okay. Then, old business, I don't have any, you don't have any?
Yeah, it's not, old business or citizens' comments, one or the other, but two things. I hear, how are we doing by changing the rates for the subs? How are we doing at, bringing in substitutes? Because I'm hearing that we're always having problems combining classes.
We are.
We are. So
We
how do
are.
we address this?
So we've raised the rates, we've advertised with a rate increase, even when we post on School Spring. I believe we need to be a little bit more aggressive with the students that are newly certified. Next year, one of our goals with our Alliance funding is to have on-site substitutes that we hire for the year, so that they can allow for teachers to have that job embedded professional development. And so I'm hoping that that'll help ease some of that strain, so that we'll have some teachers here on site. But we have to be a little bit more aggressive, recruiting our substitutes, and we just can't keep going to the same, the same universities. So we're gonna have to branch out and try to start to recruit those kids that are coming out of school.
Is it a regional problem in other schools?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone,
if
yeah.
I may, at the EastCon meetings that I go to once a month, it is a universal topic.
Okay.
The entire region is struggling with that. The raising the rates, to some extent, because all of the regions, or all the towns surrounding us are also having trouble. I don't know that it has helped us get subs, but it has also prevented us from losing subs or having subs accept jobs in another district instead of coming to ours. And we were having issues in the past where subs would accept our jobs, and then they would get a call to go to another district where they were paying more, and we would find out that sub wasn't gonna be there, even though we thought we had them booked. that is not happening anymore. So at the
Well,
very,
that's good news.
that
It's a
I
little
can
better.
say is, there is some anecdotal evidence to say that it's helped, but not in the way that we necessarily would hope, but it's a regional problem.
I don't wanna say dumb it down, but what, has this requirement, has that changed? Cause now I'm hearing they need
A lot less.
like a lot more schooling just to be a sub.
No.
No?
It's the same, it's better to be certified as a substitute, well, to be certified in something.
Yeah.
But there's a waiver that somebody could fill out from my office, that it's a 1-year waiver, that they can be a substitute teacher if they're approved by the state of Connecticut.
For 1 year though.
One school year.
Is that renewable after the
It
year?
is, it is.
So even like, especially springtime, maybe grab some of our freshman college
Yeah.
kids that just left our school and are, you know, I mean, something, cause springtime you also have, you know, just seems like, I don't know if it's more of a need, but seems like a need.
Yeah, and
I mean,
you gotta be
anything.
careful, you know, I interview every substitute that
Right.
comes through, you gotta be careful who will
No,
be out there.
Absolutely, 100%, but, I mean, a Jordan coming back next spring. Now, she might get lost in one of the classrooms, but she'll do a great job once she gets there. I don't know. Now, I'm just saying.
But that's, I don't.
Better than-
I
better
don't
than
know
nobody.
if I like the idea of permanent subs, but, I mean, that's up to you.
Well, that's a good way for jobs embedded in PD, but if they have, you know, open times, it might relieve some of that doubling up of classrooms,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's unfortunate, and we don't
Right.
like to see.
A lot of times with temps, they get a signing bonus or something like that. We have to be creative on how we do it.
Right.
And, you know, if we can offer something more upfront, or if you're here for the entire time, you get an extra bonus at the end, something, just to entice them to come. It's not gonna cost a lot of money to do something like that.
And then the other thing was what we talked about earlier, the pickup. If there is a policy, we need to start enforcing it, and if there isn't, we need to pull it together.
We'll look for it, for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Gets a 1-year exemption.
Okay. That was
That
your
was it
old
for me.
business.
That was it
All right,
for me.
citizens' comments.
If I may, I'd like to read a letter. Wonderful news, unsolicited, is always just fuel for the reasons why we continue to do what we do, and I'd like to read this in an anonymous way. Good morning. I just wanted to take a minute to share something as a parent. My son is not a reader, much to my dismay. English has never been his favorite subject. At times, pushing him to do his best in English and getting through the assignments has been a chore. In addition, he's not the first one to speak up in class. The limelight is not typically his thing. In September, this is a freshman, along came the Socratic seminar. My son wanted nothing to do with it. I think his first grade on one of them was in the 60s, or maybe he even failed. Well, the kid who strode into my office yesterday was beaming. His comment, I nailed it. I led that thing. It was awesome. All of that is 100% Jenna LaFlamme, and to a certain extent, Cindy Roulette. My son has said to me more than once, Mrs. LaFlamme is just amazing, Mom. She has totally changed how I feel about English and reading. She makes it fun and interesting. I used to hate Socratic seminar, and now they are fun. Mrs. Roulette has shown us so much. It's seeing his success, confidence, critical thinking, and stretching to achieve that makes all the difference. I could not have been more proud of him in that moment. To see the maturity and the joy and the true appreciation for his teachers was just an incredibly awesome moment for me. I am so grateful to Jenna and Cindy for their influence on my son.
Very nice.
This is why I believe in TMHS staff and TMHS experience.
That's
great.
Very nice, thank you. Any other citizens' comments?
I had 2 quick things.
He's not allowed to speak, so go ahead.
Is that Mr. Weiss?
Yeah, he's not talking.
Yeah, he already had his 30 seconds earlier. Megan, do we have any idea of our matriculation rate into college and military yet?
Into the military and into college, I think I did put that into the top line. Those are the students that have been, those are the colleges that they've committed to, as well as the military and the top of my 4 report.
Is that
That's it, where everybody committed in May.
But do we have a percentage? Is that what you're looking for, Joe?
Yeah.
Percentage, you know?
Yes, it's available in our school profile. I can get that for you.
Okay. Yeah, just curious, because we were really knocking that out of the park for a while. I was just curious, because it comes up, and I just want to know what the
Sure.
number is. The only other thing that I had was, I'm sure you found that Kai's is a remarkable young lady that is an incredible resource for us at the school. And there is nobody more farming than Kai's in Thompson. So, and she's got the energy of, I don't know, I get tired just watching her. So, just reach out to her. I think she could help a lot in our school.
She was amazing. She was talking about how many hours she works a week. It's just, it's incredible.
Oh, it's triple digits.
Yeah.
And it was Kai's that actually, when we brought in the breakfast program to begin with, now Lisa's gone, it was Kai's that was really excited about it because she wanted our students to start to take, you know, advantage of the local dairy that we have in town. So she came out and actually kicked off that whole program for us.
Yeah, she was on, did you hear her on Winnie there a few weeks ago, Joe?
Yeah, I did.
This almond drink, she won't even give it the satisfaction of calling it milk.
Any other comments? I just want to ask, since we're not going to be together until graduation, is everybody going to graduation?
Yes.
Everybody is, because I didn't respond.
And then there's also the 21st is the middle school.
Middle school.
Moving up.
I'll miss that
And
one.
you can respond to the middle school office, but we're going to have our gowns and everything there. I don't know, is anybody bringing a guest that they're going to need seating there?
We reserve seating for everyone.
For Board of Ed and guests.
But if
right?
you know that you're bringing guests, please let Donna know so that she
I'll
can
call her.
make sure that there's enough seating.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanna, I just think that's important.
Quick-
Good?
quick-
Any other
quick.
comments? Yes.
I need a thank you for Joe Imartino and Joe Lindley for leading our second grade through the tour of Thompson.
Mhm.
And again, a great.
Did
great
anyone see
tour.
the video on Facebook? It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's one
yeah.
of my favorites of the year.
Yeah.
That's a really
They
good
were a
video.
blast.
You guys
They were
did
an
a
absolute
great
blast.
job. Thank you. Tell Joe thank you.
Before you go, one more. I know that Melinda has already made mention of this earlier in the meeting, but I'd like to go ahead and again, I'm sure I represent the administrators and all of us here in Thompson when I say thank you to the community for their support in passing in the budget and listening to our students as they attended the Board of Finance meetings. Melinda, it really was key that you reached out to us so that we could work more united together in order to get the message out. And I just want to applaud not only all of our efforts, but again, the community's support and their belief in us, so thank you.
Good? Motion adjourned? Linda's got it. Sean's got the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.